Nick Saban calls it a war of the Titans when Alabama and LSU get together, and they'll lock horns once again tonight at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. We're live on Crimson Tide Kickoff, breaking it down for you in Tuscaloosa and Baton Rouge, and we begin right now.
Crimson Tide Kickoff, presented by Alpha Insurance.
AJ gets the snap, pressure, screen, Yeldon, 30, 25.
Make 20, a man miss.
That's right, he's gonna go!
Yes!
He's gonna go! Touchdown, T.J. Yeldon!
That was the last time the Tide traveled to Baton Rouge in 2012. And the final dagger drawn by T.J. Yeldon, who took that screen pass the distance for the winning margin. Alabama went on to win the national championship. And this is the Crimson Tide rolling into Baton Rouge on Friday evening. This is video from our CTKO crew on the ground at the team hotel. The Crimson Tide, as always, approaching this game as a business trip, and as is tradition, Alabama players and coaches dressed in suits and ties, making their arrival there in the Bayou. And welcome in, everybody, to Crimson Tide Kickoff. I'm Gary Harris. We're with you for the next hour, breaking this game down for you live from here in Tuscaloosa, where it's quiet, and Baton Rouge, where it's not so quiet. National championship implications were there in 2012, and they're present once again this evening. It's rare that a game between these two teams doesn't have one or both still very much alive in the national race. And it's a jam-packed show. Here's what's coming up. Live reports from Lee Smith in Louisiana. Special guest, Christy Curry, Alabama women's basketball coach, and former Crimson Tide Director of Athletics, Hootie Ingram. Milliseconds with Chef Tori McPhail of the Commander's Palace in New Orleans, and corn dog trivia with Jen Chapman. But we will start tonight, or this morning, I should say, with our Bama headlines.
For the latest on the Crimson Tide, you don't need the newspaper. You need Bama headlines.
Well, Thursday night, Nick Saban said on his weekly radio show that the team medical staff has cleared freshman left tackle Cam Robinson to play in tonight's game. Now, we're not sure if he'll start, but we do expect him to play. And Coach seems surprised that Robinson's high ankle sprain that he suffered against Tennessee healed so quickly. Robinson is certainly fired up to play against his home state team. And another big piece of the puzzle for Alabama's offense should be good to go as well. The hero of that 2012 game, junior running back T.J. Yeldon, will play. He's banged up with a foot injury, but he's going to go. LSU running backs also nursing some dings. Terrence McGee is still expected to play after sustaining an eye injury 2 weeks ago. Well, the CTKO crew is 100% and ready to go as well. We're heading around the horn now to check in on them. First, let's go to Baton Rouge. Lee Smith is standing by. Lee, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, we're live out here. The parade grounds, LSU. We got a couple people tailgating already. They're ready for tonight's festivities. And speaking of night games, Les Miles is 48-4 all time at night in Tiger Stadium. And so actually just last week they gave the Rebels all they could handle, rushing for 266 yards on 55 carries. And so Nick Saban, he knows exactly what's at stake, and he says this is the Tide's toughest test to date.
This is obviously an opportunity for, two really good teams to have an opportunity to compete against each other, which if you're a great competitor, you like these kind of challenges. Obviously always a great challenge to go to LSU to play, and they always have a good team and usually a great atmosphere to play football in.
I think there's an enjoyment of playing this team. I just, if you enjoy competition, you enjoy playing at a very high level, you enjoy playing in Tiger Stadium, which these Tigers do. I think we're looking forward to it.
And check out these numbers right here real quick. Alabama has led the country in recruiting each of the last 4 seasons, so they always have talent. Now LSU not far behind. Just one time in the last 4 years they've ranked out of the top 10 in recruiting. So this is why they always have a great rivalry because they always get the best players. And that's all right now. Reporting live from the parade grounds in Baton Rouge, right outside Tiger Stadium, I'm Lee Smith for Crimson Tide Kickoff. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Lee. We'll be checking back with you in just a little bit. But right now, we're closer to home here in Tuscaloosa. In fact, meteorologist Peter Crank is standing by to give us a first check of our weather tonight. Hey, Pete, what's it looking like for the game down in Baton Rouge?
Well, we saw a couple showers early this morning down there in Louisiana, and right now things are beginning to clear out. The sun is beginning to return for much of South Louisiana. You can see there just north of New Orleans where Baton Rouge is, the clouds are beginning to clear out and temperatures are finally beginning to warm up there. Here in Tuscaloosa, we've seen lots of sunshine across the area this morning, and we're beginning to make it into the upper 50s, headed towards the 60s for highs here in Alabama. And as you head down further south, it's going to be a little bit warmer as well. 65 for our high early this afternoon with a few clouds making their way in as we do have another cold front swinging through the mid-south central area of the U.S., bringing with it a couple clouds, no rain for us here in Alabama and as well for Louisiana. So good news for us. We're going to stay dry throughout the next couple of days, which means good football weather for us this evening across the southeast. Down in Auburn, we're going to be looking at the afternoon game against Texas A&M. Temperatures there will start off in the mid-60s and then slowly cool down throughout the afternoon into the evening, down into the mid-50s by the time we end the game there. And then obviously down in Baton Rouge, kicking off at 7 tonight. 59 degrees when we kick off there. They'll hit a high today in the upper 60s, but then they'll cool down throughout the day back into the upper 40s overnight tonight. So it'll be a little bit chilly out there for the game, but overall, clear skies and just a great atmosphere down there in Death Valley.
Thank you, Peter. We'll check back with you in just a little bit as well. Well, still much more on the way on CTKO, brought to you by Alpha Insurance, including a place where they take tailgating very, very seriously, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Coming up, we'll share this week's Tailgaters of the Week, plus Alabama women's basketball coach Christy Curry will join us here on the UA campus to preview the upcoming season, and she'll talk a little football with us as well. We're still a long way from kickoff, but you better believe the party is on down on the bayou. Stay tuned. We'll keep going, too, when CTKO returns right after this timeout.
Now, this week's Tailgaters of the Game, brought to you by Krispy Kreme Donuts.
Hey, guys, we are here with our Tailgaters of the Week, the Tommy Jackson Tailgating Club. This is Patty, and this is Ty. All right, guys, so obviously huge tradition here, tailgating. People rival this to the Grove or the Quad at Alabama. What makes this particular site the best for tailgating in the SEC?
Well, we are out here very first thing in the morning. We start, and you tell them what, Ty? You can't drink all day if you don't start in the morning. So we're here first thing in the morning, and we don't stop until after the game's over.
All right, now I saw a couple of grills going over there. What do you guys make specifically for game day?
We got some boudin going. We got, what else?
Chicken.
Johnny McMuffins, that's biscuits with fried eggs and bacon and everything.
All right, so we all know Les Miles is known for his quirkiness, so can you guys actually do an impression of him, kind of what he does on the sidelines?
Okay, we got that. Ty?
All right, we're going to do the clap. Ready?
Woohoo! Go Tigers!
Now, so what are you guys predicting for tonight?
Oh, tonight we win for sure. We'll take it back to 3 years ago when we beat Alabama at home. I was there. But our fans are going to be much nicer than the Alabama fans were there. We like to have people away. We have a good time when we're there, and we want to show people a good time when you guys are here as well.
What is it that makes Tiger Stadium special when the lights go down?
That's what it's all about. It's loud in there. It's intense. It's an atmosphere like no other. It's really just undescribable. Death Valley at night. Can't beat it.
All right, so hopefully we do have an undescribable game tonight. All right, guys, back to you.
Thank you, Lee. This is such a big game that the governor of Alabama, Robert Bentley, who's been on this show recently, made a bet with Louisiana Governor Bobby Jindal. Now, if Alabama wins, it's shrimp and pralines from Louisiana sent to Governor Bentley. But if LSU wins, Governor Bentley will have to send Governor Jindal char-grilled chicken with white Alabama barbecue sauce. So there you go, side bet by the Governors. And we're joined now by a special guest, Alabama women's basketball coach Christy Curry, as she gets ready for her second season at the Capstone. Thank you, Coach, for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.
And when I say getting ready, I mean, it really is time to get ready. You've got an exhibition game tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Then you tip it off for real as part of a men's women's doubleheader on Friday night. Just talk about the season getting started.
We're excited. You know, tomorrow will be a really good run through for us. We want to see improvement. The lights go on, uniforms. So it's going to be a great experience. We play North Alabama, who actually Alabama lost to a few years back.
Right.
So certainly a great opponent for us, and we're excited. We'll dress out 8 tomorrow. A little bit of trouble with our depth right now with some injuries, but it's going to be a great experience for our young players to get some good experience.
And then on Friday night, you play at Coleman, and then the men play afterwards.
Great night of Alabama basketball. We're so excited to be a part of that. And, you know, we will play Florida A&M. Our men will play Towson State, and we tip it off at 5:30, and the guys will tip off right after us. So come out and grab a hot dog and hang out on Friday night. We're looking forward to a great crowd for both programs.
And free admission for the game tomorrow at Foster. So certainly a chance to see the Tide in their only exhibition performance. Let's talk about last year a little bit as we get into this season. You went 14-16 overall, but 7 wins in the Southeastern Conference. That was the most at Alabama in 12 years. So certainly progress was made. But then this year, you're picked 13th out of 14 teams in the SEC. Little lack of respect there?
Well, you know, I think we really don't care what anybody else's opinion is. We were picked 14th a year ago, and, you know, as we build, certainly that's probably until we consistently can earn our way up. You know, we've got to understand those things, but, again, not let it affect us. I mean, we control our own destiny every day, and our kids don't pay attention to anybody else's opinions. We have our own opinions.
Well, you certainly have a template for success at Purdue. You went to the national championship game, NCAA tournament berth at Texas Tech. I know you evolve as a coach. Coaches are always changing, but basically the same recipe that you use there is what you're using at Alabama?
No question. And, you know, I've had a lot of different experiences at Purdue following the national championship, and 2 years later we were back, and then at Texas Tech following a legend. It took us 4 or 5 years to get in the tournament. So we've been in all kind of experiences we can draw from at Alabama. This is a complete rebuilding job, one of the worst BCS jobs in the country at the time. But are we fired up and feel blessed to be here every day and to build this back? And we've got a great core group of 4 freshmen we signed. We'll sign 4 more next week. So, you know, back-to-back recruiting classes is how you do that, and our kids in place have made the commitment to work extremely hard, and we're just excited about where we're headed and the kind of people we have in place as far as the players to help us do that.
You mentioned only dressing 8. You had so much momentum coming over last season, but graduation, a couple players left, injuries. Tough way to start the season.
Well, it is, but I think the one thing that, you know, those things really can pay off down 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, because your freshmen will get a lot of experience. So, you know, Coralla Middlebrook's out right now with an ankle. Khadijah Carter's out right now. And one of our most heralded freshmen, Quanitra Bolton out of Anniston, who's going to be a great player, will be back around December the 1st. So December the 14th, Bree Hayden gets eligible. So by December 1, we're excited about the 12 we'll have in place. Until then, we can get better with minutes earned.
You're building an incredible home court advantage at Foster. We were talking before the live interview about the home court advantage. That place can get loud. It can get rocking. You've got a good schedule. Talk about the schedule. I know Duke's coming in, and really, for a fan standpoint, it's got a good group of teams.
It is. I mean, you know, to have number 7 Duke here a week from tomorrow. Then we have December 7th. We have Nebraska coming to town, 2 top 20 teams immediately, and a lot of great home games. And from Crimson Chaos to our band to cheer, to the dance squad, it's incredible, the home court advantage. We beat Georgia, LSU, Ole Miss, Mississippi State a year ago in Wisconsin. You just don't do that. I mean, I feel like Foster can be the best home court advantage, and our fans deserve all the credit for that.
You mentioned when you took over, I mean, it is what it is. The program, you won 7 games last year. That was the most SEC wins in 12 years. So they have been down at Alabama. But have you been pleased with not just the way the players have bought in, but the administration, the fans, the student body? Do you feel like everybody's on the same page and that you can build a winner that can compete at the highest level?
No question, and the support is second to none I've ever been a part of as far as the family atmosphere. And you look at gymnastics and softball and women's tennis and men's golf, the list goes on and on, even beyond football, of the greatness at Alabama. And that just breeds, you know, association brings on assimilation. If they can, we can. And our players learning from those programs, it's important.
All right, Coach, we appreciate the time. It gets started tomorrow with an exhibition game, 2 o'clock, right down the street here at Foster Auditorium against North Alabama. Then the Tide tips it off for real Friday night, 5:30 at Coleman Coliseum as part of a women and men's doubleheader. So a big basketball week here for Christy Curry and the Crimson Tide. Well, more coming up on CTKO, including much more of a breakdown from this big game tonight and Alabama's national playoff chances.
And coming up next on CTKO, we're talking, of course, LSU Alabama, but we're going to put it on a plate with Chef Torrey McPhail. Torrey, big LSU fan?
Love it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. He's going to talk about it a little bit when we come back.
And don't touch that remote. Much more Crimson Tide Kickoff comes your way right after this timeout. Well, you know it's going to be loud at Tiger Stadium when that sun goes down. This is probably as quiet as it's going to be from now until kickoff. The Doc's in there enjoying some time on the grass. It's fairly warm down there, but tonight at 7 o'clock, it will be rocking inside Tiger Stadium. Well, when you make the trip south to Louisiana, you can't help but think about the food. And in this week's edition of Milliseconds, BJ Milliken catches up with one of the top chefs in the Crescent City.
BJ Milliken here at the historic Bright Star Restaurant in Bessemer, Alabama, and I'm joined with a very special guest for LSU Week. It's Chef Tori McPhail from the Commander's Palace, the executive chef. Chef Tori, cooking up some special things for LSU Alabama Week.
Absolutely right. I'm a huge football fan, huge LSU fan, and food is paramount when we get together and we do our tailgates outside of the stadium there in Baton Rouge. So we just wanted to whip up a couple quick things for you today. We love our poppers, right? So during hunting season, man, it's like a quail popper, a dove popper. And really what that is, it's just it's really simple actually. This is fresh quails. And all we've really done here, we've stuffed these with some pepper jack cheese and some jalapenos. Right, a little bit of Creole seasoning. We've rolled these up. And all you want to do here is just roll them over in bacon, like so.
Like rolling the tide, right?
That's it, like roll tide, right? This is the only thing that's going to roll in Baton Rouge this weekend.
Well, you know.
We're setting these guys right into the pan. So depending on the heat, these will take about 15 or 20 minutes in the oven. I'll tell you what, these are so good. They stay hot for a long time. I always love this when LSU wins. So, you know, here we are cooking my favorite dish on game day.
There you go. Now if you had to say feed Les Miles, what's the dish that you might say feed to Coach Les?
Well, I know he likes a good amount of like green grassy things in his diet, right? So we might want to try to do him a little smoothie up front, something great dishes like this, or any of the great dishes on our Commander's Palace menu. That's for sure.
Absolutely. What about Nick Saban? If you were to welcome him?
Saban's a good guy. He's come into Commanders before. Great guy. But I'll tell you, I haven't seen him in a little while. So if he happens to have some extra time, make a quick stop down in New Orleans before you head all the way up to Baton Rouge. I'd be more than happy to cook for the gentleman. I've lived all over the United States, and when Alabama comes to New Orleans, I'll tell you what, y'all travel well. And everybody's cool, they're down to earth. It's a great weekend. Regardless of the outcome of the game, we love it when Alabama's down.
Just don't go to the Crystals on Bourbon Street. Who are some of the people who really kind of had an influence on you on the culinary side?
I mean, I think growing up, all of us kind of, raise stuff on the farm, whether it's like fresh corn, potatoes, chickens, geese, ducks, and all that. But we take our bounty and I'd cook side by side with my grandparents. My mom was a great cook, still is. My dad, my brother makes really, really good pies. But we all had a kind of specialty in the kitchen. So, if it was dessert, Sean would make all that. I kind of had a passion for corn dogs growing up. That was my first thing.
A passion for corn dogs.
Yeah,
get out of town.
That's right. That's it, man. Look how good those look, huh?
All right.
Looks awesome.
That does look great.
Here's a little tip for you. Don't throw away this bacon fat. Okay. Right? If whoever happens to win, okay, you're walking out of the stadium, put a little behind each ear, drives all the big girls crazy. It's a true story, I swear to you. Okay? Be careful, it's going to be hot though. Okay? What do you think of that? Pretty good? Pretty tasty? Mm-hmm. Regardless, win or lose, it's definitely a great recipe you can take to any stadium y'all are hanging out at.
You'll feel better if you lose if you have this stuff.
That's right. Yeah, it won't feel so bad. Like the whole day is a complete wash, right?
Now that was real Zydeco. Zydeco, baby.
Thank you, BJ. Great stuff as always on Milliseconds. Making you hungry? Well, we're not done talking about food yet. Coming up in about 25 minutes, Jen Chapman will join me for a few rounds of corn dog trivia. Of course, Alabama's playing LSU. Corn dog trivia, there you see the corn dog, so you'll definitely want to stick around for that. It's going to be fun, and we'll get to eat, so I always enjoy that. Well, a big factor in tonight's game will be quarterback play. Alabama's Blake Sims versus LSU's Anthony Jennings. Even though they don't line up against each other, their play will help determine the outcome. Sims style and elusiveness has thrown a wrench in defensive coordinators' game plans against Alabama, where they used to have to plan just for a traditional pocket passer. Now they have to get ready to play a guy who can make big plays, not just with his arm, but with his legs as well. It's something that isn't lost on the LSU defenders this week.
Just that they have a dual threat quarterback. Now he can run out and pass it. Last year they didn't have that, and they always had running backs and great wide receivers, but it's just the quarterback nowadays, he can run and do all kind of crazy things with the ball.
I'm better with my feet. I'm better with communication with my teammates. I'm better as a person, knowing things it's not about me. I have great guys around me that can make plays and that wants to make plays.
Sims, a fifth-year senior, has put up some impressive numbers in his first year as a starter. He leads the country in completion percentage on third down, which is about as big a stat as there is for a quarterback. There you see the numbers. He's got the second highest quarterback rating in the country, but when he goes on the road, he's not quite as efficient. He has made many more mistakes away from home than inside Bryant-Denny. He'll try to change that trend tonight. Well, we'll see if that LSU crowd rattles him this evening. And coming up on CTKO, a former Alabama standout will share one of his favorite memories from the LSU series. A quarterback will look back. Plus, we'll be joined by the former director of athletics at both Florida State and Alabama, Cecil Hootie Ingram. I'm sure he's got some good stories about going to Baton Rouge with the Tide and Florida State as well. Stay with us. Much more to come from Tuscaloosa and Baton Rouge as we get you ready for the big showdown on the Bayou. There you see a good look at how quiet it is right here, but as I said, not the case in Baton Rouge. We'll be back.
It's funny my freshman year going to LSU because I always remember, not so much LSU, but the seniors, the wide receiver, you had Calvin Hall and Quincy Jackson, and they would break the huddle and say, "Zal, I'm open." And I said, "How? We haven't even ran the play yet." But during that last tip pass for the touch, that go ahead to win the game, as Quincy's breaking the huddle, "Zal, I'm open." So as soon as I roll out, he wasn't really open, but I put it out there, didn't put it enough, but it got tipped and Quincy catches it for a touchdown and we win the game. But I can always remember him saying, "Hey, Zal, I'm open." Yeah, we hadn't even ran the play yet.
How's that for a Bama LSU memory? 1998, LSU had the Tide dead to rights, and Andrew Zal and Quincy Jackson bring them back, and they pull one out in the final seconds. Here's a look at the series of late. It's been Alabama winning 3 straight against LSU, but with the exception of last year, they've all been really tight games, and usually both of these teams are among the best in the country. It's no different this season. We're joined now by another special guest, former director of athletics at both Alabama and Florida State University, Coach Hootie Ingram. Coach, good to have you with us.
Thank you, Gary. Happy to be here.
Well, good to have you. Hey, let's talk about let's just start with this Alabama football team and kind of what Nick Saban's built. When he got here, they weren't winning a lot of championships, weren't winning that many games, and immediately he's made an impact. And this run of, I know you saw it with Coach Bowden at Florida State, but it's one thing to pop up and have a good year every now and then, but to have a run of consistent success like this, it's pretty amazing, particularly in this day and age.
Well, it's tough to sustain greatness. Particularly when everybody Alabama plays, they want to beat them, and they usually play their best game. So a lot of people don't realize how tough it is to coach at a school that everybody wants to beat. And they can have one victory against Alabama, and the coach can keep his job.
Yeah, we saw how special it still is when those goalposts came down at Ole Miss.
Correct.
It still means something. You know that better than most, having played here and of course, served as the athletic director, and you make a good point. I think a lot of times people forget that, but it's always tough in the SEC, but still the name Alabama, the respect that the Crimson Tide commands, they get everybody's best shot every week. There's nobody that's not ready to play when they face the Tide.
That's correct,
yeah. I mentioned Coach Bowden, and I know he had a little different demeanor and a little different style than Coach Saban, but any comparisons between those two as far as, we mentioned the consistent success that you saw with Coach Bowden that you see with Coach Saban?
Well, they're both winners, obviously, and a lot of people think Coach Saban is a very conservative guy, but he likes to throw the ball around as much as anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think Bobby is a person that's harem scarum and doing all these trick plays. but he really loved to run the ball more than people thought. And I remember we played in a bowl game one year, and we had 3 receivers out for the game. And he lined up and broke every bowl record rushing that particular game. And he said he enjoyed that kind of win more than the other kind. So they're both people that prepare well. They both recruit well. And, you know, if you recruit pretty good, you can be a pretty good coach.
Absolutely. That's where it starts. You go a long way back to the bowl system, through the BCS, and now we have this national 4-team playoff. Just your thoughts. I know it's the first year, but what do you think about this setup that we have in place now?
Well, I think it's good. It certainly has got people talking about it all the time, and it hasn't taken away from the regular season, which a lot of people said that would be the case. But I think it's enhanced the regular season because now everybody's wondering, you know, each game every week's a playoff game. And you can go up or down in the ratings, and I think it's probably done a lot to enhance the regular season games.
You know, we just saw a clip of you a while ago. You know, you were known as a defensive back, but you played quarterback, you played running back, and I know as a running back you had a pretty good game against LSU, I think.
Yeah, my senior year we did. We played down my sophomore year. We won 21-20, and my senior year I think we won 14-7. And my senior year was the year that the rules, you had to play both ways.
Right. And
so I was a defensive player my first 2 years, and it was kind of exciting. My last 2 years I got to run the ball a little bit.
Yeah. In 1952, Coach had 10 interceptions, still the single-season record. Alabama should be 11. They didn't count the bowl stats. You had one against Syracuse in the Orange Bowl.
That's correct.
I don't know if anybody will ever break that one. That's a lot of interceptions for 1 year, Coach.
I know one of the players said one day, Coach, I got 6 and we got 4 more games. You think I catch you? I said, well, you ought to. They in 2 games when you play, they throw more passes than they did me the whole year.
I bet that was Langham.
It was Langham.
Real quick, you know, big game for Alabama tonight. Clearly the Tide needs to win out to get to Atlanta and getting that chance to play in that national championship playoff. How do you see this one going down in Baton Rouge?
Well, you know, I think we're playing so sound defensively now. Early in the year, we had some defensive backs who were hurt, and we had to play a lot of young people. And now we got the injured guys back, and so we got depth back there. And even though this particular game is going to be maybe stop and run more than the pass, but I feel pretty confident. When I was a coach and athletic director, I was very pessimistic. Now that I'm a freelance fan, I'm very optimistic. I think we'll get them pretty good.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Coming up next, the SEC Nation guys are in Baton Rouge taking in the Bama LSU game. What are their thoughts on how this one will play out? We'll hear from them coming up after the break. Stay with us. We'll also have Lee Smith live from Baton Rouge coming up after this timeout as well. So we got a lot to get done. Stay with us. SEC Nation, it is in Baton Rouge for the Alabama-LSU contest, along with former LSU Tiger Marcus Spears. Joe Tessitore, of course, is the anchor of the coverage, and he knows the implications of this game very well for Alabama.
At their very best, when they're healthy and when they're playing their very best, I still think they're probably the best team in the country. I think sometimes in this day and age of having that goose egg in the loss column and college football selection committees, you have to look at the games and how they were played. Those last 6 minutes against Ole Miss, it took a lot to go wrong for that to happen.
Alabama has more at stake, too, and they have to run a gauntlet after this game. So it's a lot riding on them being able to get into those 4 teams that's there in the end.
Spears had a lot of success in his career for LSU against Alabama. He went 3-1. The only loss coming when he was playing for Nick Saban against Dennis Franchione in 2002 in Death Valley. Alabama won that one 31-0. Well, it's now time to head back to the man on the scene. He's gotten a lot of good trips in this year. Knoxville, Fayetteville, Oxford, and now Baton Rouge. Lee, how does LSU stack up?
Hey guys, we're live out here at the parade grounds, just a couple blocks outside of Tiger Stadium. We are joined with LSU's most zealous fan. Is that okay if I give you that title?
Sir, yes, sir. Sir.
All right, what's your name, sir?
My name is Tony Dietz. Been coming here for about 31 years, sir. 31 years, yeah.
All right, I got to ask you, if you can pan down, just get a look at all this. Look at all of this. Now I do see that you have the crimson shoelaces. Is there any particular reason you did that today?
Yes, sir. I went with strict instructions from my wife to have these shoes and shoelaces on. She said, like tonight during the game, just feel like you're walking on the Tide the whole game.
Okay, all right, a little smack talk going. So I do have to ask you, while you're here, what do you think about Nick Saban coming back? It's been a couple of years. You guys have had some time to get over it, but is the fan base still kind of lingering on those effects?
Well, I know that you heard some of the fan base, but me personally, the guy's methodical. He knows what he's doing. He's like a robot. You don't do your chore here, he'll either fix you or he's going to put somebody else in behind you, and he's recruited the guy behind you to do your job, if not better than you. So, me personally, yeah, we can't stand him, but he is very good at what he does.
All right, and also one last thing, prediction for tonight's game, who's going to win and why?
Well, I'm going to go with this right now. I got this cheers in my head. It's the only thing I can't get it out. You know, something about roll, Tide, roll, down the bowl and in the hole. But I'm going to go with go Tigers, baby, go Tigers. I'm going to cheer for the Tigers. 31 years.
All right, guys, well, that's all live here in Baton Rouge. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Lee. I tell you, that guy's a lot of fun. Good sport, wants his team to win, but you can tell he enjoys college football. Good stuff from down there in Baton Rouge. Well, next on Crimson Tide Kickoff, we'll have more good stuff. We'll head around the SEC and talk a little about the games, the big games going around the country today. A lot of them will have an impact on the playoff rankings, that's for sure. And next, we put the player spotlight on Ryan Kelly, the quarterback of the offensive line, talks about his role this week against an LSU pass rush that has traditionally been one of the league's best. We're coming back to Tuscaloosa and Baton Rouge when CTKO, brought to you by Alpha Insurance, returns. Stay with us. And welcome back to Crimson Tide Kickoff. Still a number of hours before the game tonight between Alabama and LSU gets underway, but the fans have already kicked off their partying in Baton Rouge. You've seen it firsthand, that is for sure. They do know how to have fun down on the bayou. Well, the party will be short-lived, though, if Alabama has anything to say about it. For the Crimson Tide to win, the Tide needs to get rolling on the ground. It'll need a big game from its offensive line to do that. The center of that line is Ryan Kelly, and he's this week's Player Spotlight.
Alabama has always prided itself on a dominant offensive line. Junior center Ryan Kelly is the quarterback of this year's unit. Kelly says his team will have to win the battle in the trenches in order to come out of Baton Rouge with a win.
They're always got big guys, front seven, whatever we want to call it, but especially LSU, they got a great defense coordinator, and every year they always play as strong. So, we kind of take that as a challenge every week, and as an offensive line, we have to move to the line of scrimmage up front. This will be Kelly's second start after injuring his knee last month and missing 2 games. Kelly says he has made progress to this point. I feel fine. It's just one of those things that, it takes time, but as the weeks go on and on, you start to feel better, and at times not to be as sore as much. Kelly is a part of an offensive line that has helped generate over 500 yards of offense per game. But the unit will need to be sharp playing on the road in chaotic Death Valley. As far as the noise and all that, we had noise out there today, crowd noise. So, working with that, and we've played at loud places before, so I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. And as long as we do what we do, we'll be fine. Last year, Kelly and the offensive line paved the way as the Tide rushed for close to 200 yards against the Tigers, and they will look to do the same thing this year. For Crimson Tide Kickoff, I'm Andrew Clare.
Thank you, Andrew. Check out this key stat. In Alabama's wins over LSU since 2007, here are some benchmark numbers on the ground. In Alabama wins, they rush for 164 yards per game. In losses, only 72. LSU and Alabama both looking for that 150-yard mark on the ground. Tonight, Alabama gives up just 77 yards per game. LSU giving up a lot more. over 150, right at 160 yards per game, but they have tightened up as of late. Well, it's time now to head around the SEC. Outside of Baton Rouge, there aren't a lot of marquee games going on this week. A couple of games already underway. The number 1 ranked Mississippi State Bulldogs with an out-of-conference breather later this afternoon before coming to Tuscaloosa next week. And Florida trying to follow up that big win a week ago over Georgia, taking on Vanderbilt. Well, let's talk about the first game of the CBS doubleheader. The Auburn Tigers, who are 3rd in the latest playoff poll, host Texas A&M. And even though the Aggies have been getting shredded lately, Gus Malzahn is aware of Kevin Sumlin's dangerous team. He says, especially on defense, Texas A&M can play.
You know, I think they're a very solid defense, and like I said earlier, they've got a whole lot of experience on that back end. They got just about everybody back that played against us last year, and you know, they got some good young guys, very talented young guys. They're starting to get in the mix, and we think they got some very good players over there.
Here's a look at the latest playoff poll. Oregon jumped into the 4th spot after Ole Miss's loss to Auburn. Bama up 1 at 5, but this week we have 5 ranked versus ranked matchups, not including the Tide and the Tigers. So certainly a lot of shuffling will happen following today and tonight's games in that poll. Stick around. More CTKO is on the way, including another installment of Scott on the Street. That's always an entertaining look around campus. Plus, how much of a factor will crowd noise be in Baton Rouge tonight? A couple of Bama players address the craziness that is Tiger Stadium. And don't go anywhere. It's Corn Dog Trivia with Jen Chapman. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us. We'll be right back here on CTKO. We're back here on Crimson Tide Kickoff. Check out the history of Alabama and Baton Rouge. If you're old enough to remember when the Tide owned the Tigers in Baton Rouge, I do. You're pretty lucky. From 1969 to 2000, Alabama beat LSU 14 times in Tiger Stadium. Since 2000, though, Alabama is just 3-4 against the Tigers in Baton Rouge. Well, this rivalry has certainly heated up since Nick Saban arrived in T-Town. And with each game he's played in Baton Rouge, the stakes seem to get higher and higher. Coach Saban has won 2 of the last 3 games he's coached since returning to the SEC in 2007 there at Tiger Stadium. He knows better than anybody how tough it is to get out of Death Valley with a victory. Crowd noise always a factor, with a rabid bunch of Cajuns chomping at the bit to beat their old coach.
Every time we're in the road, it's loud, so, you know, something that we're not used to. And in practice, we just have, loudspeakers to help us out, like crowd noise, so we can practice it.
We showed up, our bus was rocking, and I was just like, I'm just thinking like, what's Coach Saban saying to himself, and like, are these people crazy? Like, are they allowing these people doing this? You know, it's just crazy, and I'm just glad that we went in that year and won the game, because when we came out, nobody was to be found. I think we would have lost it, we probably would have been crazier.
Well, this will be the most people to ever see an Alabama LSU game in person. Tiger Stadium expanded this year to 102,000 plus, and they'll be packed in that stadium tonight. And check out this stat. Since 2007, Alabama and LSU have combined to win 81% of their games. Far and away the best combination for 2 teams in college football in that period. And now it's time for a special segment brought to you by our good friends at Dreamland Barbecue. We call this Corn Dog Trivia. I'm joined by WVUA Sports' Jen Chapman, who will be taking part as well, because we're going to battle head-to-head. We're also joined now by the creator of Corn Dog Trivia, if that's a title you really want. BJ Milliken is standing by in the WVUA newsroom. BJ, all right, tell us how we're going to play, because I have to be honest. Jen and I both have never competed in Corn Dog Trivia. This is a first.
Who has? This might be a very first for all of us. You could maybe call me the master of corn dog ceremonies. So we're going to go 3 rounds. I'm going to present the question to you. You're going to answer by dipping your corn dog into ketchup for Alabama, since Alabama, of course, is red. Mustard for LSU. The correct answer takes a bite of the corn dog.
Oh.
Whoever ends up with the least amount of corn dog is your winner. The first round, we're going to go quotes. So let's hit the graphic. Anytime you play against these guys as the first quote, you've got to sometimes take the tough yards, because you can't bounce things or cut things back. So let's take a look at that graphic. say it again. Anytime you play against these guys, you've got to sometimes just take the tough yards because you can't bounce things or cut things back. So give us your answer. Jen, you go first.
Nick Saban.
Okay, so you're dipping it in.
Wait,
Yeah,
we
see,
just
you
picked
gotta-
a school.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
wait. I'm going to go with LSU.
Okay, so dip it in the mustard. There you go. Okay, so hold off. Don't take a bite yet. Wait a minute. Okay. Now, Gary, what's your answer?
I'm going to go LSU too.
Can
so
he copy me?
Yeah, he can.
I got to go with who I think is right.
I mean, I've got some bonus rounds.
I remember that quote.
Questions. Okay, that quote was actually from Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill of LSU last year after the game. So both of you guys take a bite. I guess it's going to be who takes the bigger bite, I guess.
Oh.
There you go. So how are they, first of all? Are they good? They're good. Of course they're good. Now it's going to be time for round 2.
She's got no chance in terms of bite diameter now, let me tell you.
Well, maybe I should have taken that into account. We're learning here. Maybe next year we'll have this all ironed
that's
out.
good.
We're going to roll a sound bite next. Now,
Greenland.
we're going to have to tell you guys are going to have to tell us which team this player plays for. So let's go ahead and roll the bite.
You know, any SEC game, you know, they always got big guys, you know, front seven, you know, whatever we want to call it.
So there you go.
All right.
Give me what team that person plays for.
You want me to go first this
Go
time?
ahead and go first, Gary. You dip your corn dog in the red or
I'm
the
going
yellow.
ketchup for Alabama.
I was going to too. So.
Oh, yeah,
We're gonna have a close game here. We might have a tie. That is Ryan Kelly this week for the Crimson Tide. So both of you take a bite. Final round here of corn dog trivia. It's going to be called Who Won? I'm going to give you a year and a description of a past LSU-Alabama game. You tell me who won the game. And it's not like last year or anything close. 1902 is the first one.
1902? You think it's
game,
not close?
The first game between Alabama and LSU played in the state of Alabama. An 11-0 win by Dip Your Corn Dogs. Who do you say?
We'll do it at the same time.
All right.
1,
Okay.
2, 3.
All right, I'm going. Oh, we differed. This is going to decide the
Please,
victory.
Alabama, roll
The
Tide.
victory. This is good. Okay, drum roll, please. That was LSU. Gary, take the bite of the corn dog. You are the first annual corn dog trivia champion. Congratulations. Do you have any words?
I'm a battle winner. What can I say? Have you got Queen ready to go with We Are the Champions in my honor?
You know, again, we're going to iron out all the kinks. Next year we'll have it all ready to go.
You know, I didn't know who won that game. I just simply went with LSU because I'm thinking in this series, the road team usually has success.
And I was supporting the home team, so fans should
You want to
be
do a you want
on
to do
my
a you want to do a
side.
corn dog toast?
There we go. We shake hands on it. Oh. Good game.
All right, that's fun.
Good sports. I like it.
Hey, we'll have to do it next year too. All right, thank you, BJ. Stick around. We're coming back with more CTKO. Thank you, Jen. That includes a final look. Thank Dreamland for the
These are good.
corn dogs. We have our final look at our kickoff forecast. Will you need jackets at the tailgate? Plus, we're counting down to kickoff in Baton Rouge. While all is quiet in Tuscaloosa, it won't be like that next week when top-ranked Mississippi State rolls into town. Stay with us. We're wrapping up CTKO with more corn dogs right after this break.
Welcome into Sky on the Street. LSU edition to Crimson Tide was off last week. We also took a much-needed break. Nick Saban, 4-3 against LSU. Tough environment in Baton Rouge. We're going to find out our students' take on the LSU Tigers. Sky on the Street starts right now. Here is Jamari and Jamari. It's LSU week. Big game, Baton Rouge, tough place to play. What do you think of when you think of the LSU Tigers? What kind of goes through your mind?
When I think about LSU, I immediately think of corn dogs. LSU, more like LS who?
I think of a bunch of people that came from swamp country, and so they're used to being covered in mud, and so when we sack them a lot, that'll be their natural habitat.
I just think trashy, you know? Their fans are trashy. They're just not very classy at all.
Now, Les Miles has one of these habits. I don't know if you've seen this or not. He likes to eat grass off the football field. Not many coaches or grown men do that. So what do you think when you see a grown man eat some grass?
When I think of anything eating grass, I think of dogs when they're sick. And Les Miles is just a sick dog that needs to be put down.
If I saw a grown man eating grass here on the quad, I would immediately turn around and walk the other way.
I guess he's just confused, you know? I mean, grass is for like cows and animals to eat, not not football coaches. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. They can be very good for your digestive system, you know.
Unfortunately, we couldn't make it Tiger Stadium, but we have the next best thing: Walk of Champions grass.
How's it taste?
Like championships. Back to you in the studio, Gary.
I hope you had some water to chase that down. Wow. All right, time to get one final look at the weather now with meteorologist Peter Crank. Peter, how are things looking this afternoon and into the evening?
Well, we're looking at some clearing conditions across the area, especially down there in Louisiana. The clouds are clearing out, opening up for a pretty nice evening down there for the game in Baton Rouge. Temperatures will be cooling down into the upper 50s to start the game, and then as we go throughout the game, it'll cool down into the lower 50s, upper 50s, or upper 40s for us as we go late into the evening down there in Baton Rouge. Just a great football weather atmosphere down there in Louisiana, Gary.
Thank you, Peter, and that's all the time we have for Crimson Tide Kickoff for today. Thanks to our guest, and don't forget you can catch replays of the show throughout the day on WVUA. Plus, later it will be on our website at WVUATV.com. And catch Sports Saturday tonight with B.J. Milliken and Jen Chapman right after the 10 o'clock news, right around 10:13 or so for all the day's highlights. And Nick Saban's post-game press conference, we will bring that to you live only here on WVUA. For everybody behind the scenes and all of us here at WVUA and Crimson Tide Kickoff, have a good afternoon and enjoy the game, everybody. Roll Tide.